Yeah, okay, I cannot sit and be broke, man, this isn't a joke, this shit, I'm tryna stack me $1 million. I am not waiting for nothing, a train or a bus, I'ma make this shit stack to the ceiling. Tired of missing vacations, birthday celebrations, because of my pockets been hurting. I'm sick of waiting on labels, of waiting these tables, I need it, you know I deserve it.
Yo, fellas, podcast and this thing, we got some special guests here. I'm finally glad to get Jake on my shit.
Hey, appreciate it, guys. It's an honor to be here.
Tell everybody about yourself.
Oh man, there's a lot. We could do the long story, we could do the short story. But in short, my name is Jake Gallen, born and raised out here in Las Vegas. Recently, I had worked in the nightlife industry for about 6 years.
Okay.
Finally put an end to that, as we were talking beforehand. And we know the toxicity of the environment can be a good thing and a bad thing.
100%.
But during the pandemic, I started a podcast called The Guestlist, which has been kind of portrayed as a Joe Rogan Vegas, or at least that's what the audience likes to call it. And so it's super cool. I talk with entrepreneurs in the city, whether you are building a brand, a business, or you're a content creator, or just building an internet community. I want to speak with you because I'm just so bullish on Las Vegas in general. As we see, our city is just growing. It's like unprecedented rates. And so over the last 15 months, I've spoke with about 140 entrepreneurs, creators. I've had politicians on, owners of casinos, nurses. Like, I'm just trying to cover the variety because the city is very diverse. It's economically diverse. It's culturally diverse, politically diverse. It's a purple state. So outside of that, one of my big fascinations is cryptocurrency. So I dove into that, and I've been heading and just founded a company called Native Research. We've been working with UNLV and some casino operators to accelerate crypto adoption out here in Vegas. It's a little bit more complex, but I'll keep it simplistic in that nature.
There's plenty of people out here want to know about crypto, but some people don't know about crypto.
Yeah, man. So I discovered crypto in 2017. I was turned on to an altcoin project, and as I started browsing through it, I've never had such conviction in my entire life than once I figured out what Bitcoin was. The ability to become a sovereign individual, the ability to possess your own money, right? So if you have the Bitcoin in your wallet, you're holding it, whereas traditionally we kept our dollars inside of a bank. Technically, you don't own that. The bank does. And then they take those dollars and they lend it out at a 1-to-10 ratio. So they lend out imaginary dollars in essence. And if you have a certain amount of money in the bank, you have to get approved to pull out your own money.
That's why they try to push for you to have savings accounts so they can borrow money on top of your money.
And so in 2017, I went down the Bitcoin rabbit hole. That's the common cliche of crypto. Once you discover it, you just want to learn more and more, and it taught me so much about like political positioning and the corruption of leaders and the crony capitalism that's happening, and just all of these underlying faulty, antiquated structures that society sits on. And so it really pushed me into the future.
It's kind of funny that you mentioned that because I think we're in a time that you see a lot of entrepreneurs. You see more entrepreneurs than ever, and we're kind of fighting this battle where a lot of people they might not want to work per se, because they see they found the loophole in the system, right? They know that they could get, some people know that they could get X, Y, and Z, and some people they say I'm not working no more, and I'm getting unemployment, I'm getting PPP, and I'm gonna invest some of that. Well, the smart ones at least. I'm gonna invest some of that into crypto or whatever. And some people, instead of having a 401k, they use crypto as a
savings account.
And
that's exactly what I've been doing. I was taking half of what I was making at Omnia nightclub from the beginning of 2017 and buying Bitcoin all the way through 2019.
So you got a lot of trust in it then.
I was 95% crypto since 2017.
Yeah, so
once I get above a certain dollar amount in my bank account, then I just buy it into Bitcoin because I do see it as a savings account where since its inception, it's increased 200% annually, whether that's a bear market or a bull market. And so if it's going to be the currency of the future, why not buy into it now whenever everybody's going to be able to use it, like we see down in El Salvador, where they're the first country to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender, so there's no tax implications on any purchases.
Because I've seen good and bad, but I heard more good than bad. But I was just trying to figure out,
it does have a dark past. It was used on the dark web to buy drugs initially.
Really?
I remember that.
Yeah, that's when it was Silk Road at the time in 2013, 2014. And so, but what these criminals didn't realize is that it's a public ledger, so you can go back and you can follow the entire transaction history.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's a pseudonymous account. It's just like a string. Your wallet address isn't like a name, right? It doesn't say like Terrence or Danny. It says like a bunch of letters and numbers. So you can track the history, but you don't know whose wallet that belongs to.
Exactly.
So, what would you say to people that's skeptical, and they know that, let's say they know that government might try to have their hands in it a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Because now it's starting to be more commercialized. And, even they got a crypto debit card, shit like that. And I talk to a lot of people in crypto that's like heavy in crypto and shit. And they love it. At first they did it as like, oh, I'm going to do it to flip it like stock, and then now they're like sold on like, well, I'm gonna flip some and I'm gonna keep some, I'm gonna keep coins and I'm gonna flip coins, just so, like, for example, like with Dogecoin, right?
Yeah,
they were flipping that, but they bought Ethereum and other shit, and they, that's their savings. You know what I mean? They don't really mess with Bitcoin now because it's it's exploded in the last 2 years. Yeah, so it's kind of too pricey for them. Like, they don't,
Yeah,
so.
People think that at the time of this recording, Bitcoins are roughly around $35,000. But a lot of people don't realize that Bitcoin is actually divided down at 8 decimal points.
Oh,
so
really?
you could buy 0.000000001 Satoshi. It's called a Satoshi because Satoshi Nakamoto is the anonymous creator that created Bitcoin. So think of like there's 100 pennies in a dollar. There's 100 million sats within one Bitcoin. And so you could buy all the way down to the smallest denomination of it. So it's just one full Bitcoin's 35,000, but you could literally buy $10 worth, $50 worth, any dollars worth.
And now it's even easier because like you could buy it through like Cash App.
Yeah, that's where I buy.
There's no ad.
They make it so simple now because they try to push you into going that way now. Anyway, I mean, to me, I feel like paper money is disappearing. It's about to disappear.
Do you know 40% of all dollars that ever existed were printed in the last year?
Wow.
And so, if you just think about that for a second, your wealth is going to depreciate by 40% over the next maybe 5 to 7 years because of all the money that's been injected into the system. Yeah. So that's why a lot of people are flocking to not just cryptocurrencies, but hard assets, things that are scarce, even things like Pokemon cards, and we've seen like the sports card revolution over last year. Cards like LeBron cards are going for hundreds of thousands of dollars.
It's kind of funny because like I got a shitload of like old school basketball cards and football cards that like it was given to me by one of my uncles when I was like a kid. And he was like, just never sell it. Just, because they're going to be like super valuable one day. So if you sell it now, then you might not going to get nothing for it. But if you sell it maybe 20 years from now, 30 years from now, it might be through the fucking roof.
Yeah, because I got a friend now that's into it heavy. Like, he's on his laptop watching the videos as if it's going to come up. And something comes up, he's jumping. Like,
he jumps on that shit.
But it's the new norm. I mean, it's like the new.
Shout out to Sam.
It's because people are viewing value differently.
Yeah,
just because of the devaluation of the dollar. Ever since we got off the gold standard in the 70s, the dollar's depreciated by 99% of its purchasing power.
I was just gonna say that. It's kind of funny. You read my mind. Like, and that's the thing. Some people call me a conspiracy theorist, but when it comes down to a lot of like history and shit that I'm not supposed to know, I learned like everything I learned in school, like I had to like forget all that shit.
Yeah, that's just to indoctrinate you. That's just to train you to become a slave of labor.
Exactly. That's fact. So I had to like literally, I think I went down a rabbit hole when I was 19, and I started learning all kind of shit, and I was like, wait a second. So they've been telling me this all my fucking life, and this is not what it really is. This is just a part of what it is, or something like that. Yeah. And I went to school out here one year. I went to Centennial High. Shout out to Centennial, I guess. I hated it because I came from California, And when I came from California, like the schooling is like 100% different.
Yeah, the education system is very subpar here, and when I mean subpar, it's usually bottom 2 or 3 states.
Yeah. You went to Chaparral, right?
I went to Chaparral High School. Yeah, I was there for 4 years. The graduation rate was under 60% every year that I was there.
Oh, so you a native here? You a
native, born and raised here. Yeah. So, do you know 75% of people who reside in Las Vegas were not born or grew up here? Yeah, it's a very transient town. On my podcast, on the guest list, I always ask a common question at the end. I ask everybody, what does Las Vegas mean to them? I kid you not, 80% of the time everyone says opportunity. That's why everyone comes out here. It's because the culture is just being built. We're kind of in this golden age of culture out here, and now we're finding transitioning off of the strip dependency and tourism dependency. So we see a lot of these like sub-markets, like the adult film industries began to move out here. There's starting to become a blooming tech industry. I'm trying to help with the crypto market out here as well. And so you could come out here and you can have a lasting impact because everybody as you live in Vegas, you realize that it's a very small, big town. Yeah, there's 2.5 million people that live here, but there's maybe a network of 10,000 people who are really doing anything or trying to add value to the city. Whereas you go to more mature cities like New York or LA, everyone's separated by 6 to 10 degrees. It's
100%. Yeah. That's a good thing about Vegas. A lot of people that I know that move here, they like I say it's one of those cities where like people come for like a couple of years and they get the fuck out. They go back home or they go explore a different city. But the good thing about Vegas is like you can really network if you know what you're doing. Great example. Shout out to G6. It's sitting right here.
Oh my God.
I met G6.
I didn't even notice the cameras was on me.
Yeah.
Just catching y'all.
No. So I met G6. And it felt like we knew each other for years and shit because like we literally talk like damn near every day type shit. Same thing with Danny. I met Danny only like 3 years ago. And G6, he's like, dude, I was just on. No, when I met G6, I think he just had one on your podcast, or he might have.
Yeah, I think I just.
It was one of those two. And so I'm like, man, that's
dope.
Like,
I did Andrew's, and then I think you said you watched them both.
Yeah. So that's when I was like, damn, like Jake shit, like he knows what he's like. You have a knack for, like, if I didn't know you, I would think like you're like a radio host or something like that. Or like, you know what I'm saying?
I like how you do the entrepreneur side of things. You know, get people out there. Put their
I'm trying to share a message that you can succeed in Vegas without having to work on the strip.
Yeah,
that's kind of become like a cop out. The majority of my classmates from high school and from college, you know, they go through their entire educational career to build something of substance, and then they just go work on the strip. And you can
like housekeeping or some shit.
I mean, you can make 6 figures being like a banquet server stuff, but then they don't do anything else. They just become very complacent and content where they're at, and they don't want to build to it. But if you actually contribute to the economy, you don't have to work on the strip. You don't have to. Like I said before, you don't have to be a slave of labor. You can literally build your own life and do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, that's kind of funny that you say that because a lot of people they really hate this city, but they continue to live here.
Exactly.
Or they continue to always move back. I'm like, why would you move somewhere that you hate?
Yeah, that's true. It's because there's so much convenience and just like a multitude of amenities out here. What other place in the entire world, or maybe just the country, can you go snowboarding in Mount Charleston and then that same day go hang out at Encore Beach Club?
Yeah, that's fact.
Like that's just like there's not that much accessibility in other places, and so also there's no state taxes here, so they're able to lure out or attract a lot of businesses down in this area as well, which the government is trying to do, and so that's kind of tried to make or portray himself as being an innovator. But we'll see what happens over in the future. But that's something that the movement that I've been trying to build is that there are entrepreneurs out here. You don't need to work on the strip. And if we all work together, especially in this age of the creative economy, and that was one of the reasons why I started the podcast during the pandemic, is I realized that all of these antiquated structures of society were about to fall apart, and that in the future everyone's becoming very nomadic, whether you're a digital nomad or you travel the country and work as a remote worker and do whatever you need to be able to take your profession with you wherever you go, whether it's your message or your voice or the service that you provide. You need to be able to go on the go, because things like Bitcoin, things like remote remote working, they're making the world borderless.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because like I said, as I ride around the city, it's a bunch of industrial places. It's like we have the spots for you to start your businesses. Like here it is, because everywhere you go, it's industrial buildings everywhere. So it's like really no excuse for you to, like you said, become an entrepreneur and start your own business.
Yeah,
and it's kind of funny that like myself, I'm about to talk shit for a minute. Myself, you and Angela started around the same. Well, not myself, but us. You and Angela, we started the shit around the same time. Like you just hit your year anniversary. We hit our year anniversary. Angela just shout out to Fade True Podcast. Just hit her year anniversary. And let's be honest, I'm not gonna cap, but I think that like in this space, I think that if I was to rank podcasts in Las Vegas as far as authenticity, being authentic, I made up a word just
honestly, I've learned as a podcaster, even if you mess up on a word or your grammar, if there's an error, as long as you sound confident, nobody.
Yeah, for sure. But I think like no matter what people say, I think we're definitely top 5. That's just my opinion, and I'm looking at statistical data, like as far as from my end, like I carved out the lane the audio way, right? So like I built it then without thinking about like the YouTube market, and now I'm starting to get into that, which I should have gotten into that from the beginning, but I started out with the audio, so I started gaining overseas fans and shit, and fans like in different cities and states before I even like, you know, put up my first fucking video and shit, just from them listening to the audio or whatever. And I'm talking about like we was shooting at it. Like, well, I'll go to my job. I'll like, hey, let me have this dispatch office. Like, when you guys get out of there, I'm gonna start recording there. You know what I'm saying? And same thing with you. Like, I seen like, before the red curtains and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, like I was watching. I was like, okay, he grew, like it's fun to watch somebody grow organic. And the reason why I say that we're top 5, I will rank you and Angela above mine, just because you guys are you have something way more to offer. You're in a different lane from us, but you have something to offer that's dope as fuck. Like you deal with a lot of entrepreneurs. You deal with a lot of people around the city. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like a city podcast. Like you said, it's like it really reminds you of like going to like a club and you're going through the VIP experience and shit, right? And then like with Angela, she's like that urban contemporary type of podcast. Yeah. I was like, okay, like what lane could I put her in?
Ever so smooth.
Yeah. Right. And then mine's we're that hangout, talk shit, that barbershop type.
And there's a place for everything. There's a place for all conversations.
Yeah. And so it was a couple that I don't mean to interrupt you. There's a couple podcast I see. Shout out to Las Vegas Entrepreneurs Magazine, but y'all rated some clowns in front of us. And I'll be honest, like I think that you're above 6. I'll say it like that. I think that, in my opinion, this is my opinion, and if anybody doesn't like it, they can come talk to me. We can explain why. I think that you'll be number 2. I think that Angela will be 3, and I think that our podcast will be 5.
Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen.
Yeah. The thing I like about it is the fact that we all touch different things. You know what I'm saying? So we all can hit each lane, each category for everybody.
Yeah, and we have to collaborate too.
Exactly.
The more it's like about the stats, like about 50% of the country listens to podcasts, but a podcast listener listens on average 6 to 10 podcasts.
Yeah.
So if we can convert somebody who didn't listen to podcasts to become a podcast listener, then they're going to listen to all of ours, right? Exactly. You just have to make people familiarity. Some people just don't understand how to navigate podcasts. It's a little bit more selective than a YouTube video where they have an algorithm and they put all those related. Like if you're listening to a podcast, you're very intentional. You're opening up Apple Podcasts, you're going to the show, you're pressing play, you're downloading it on your phone.
Sure.
I look at it like the clubs. Like I want to say the club heyday out here was 20. I want to say from like when it really got to the super clubs. I want to say from 20. Oh, I'll say 08 to about 2014. Right, I'll say 2015. Let's say 2015.
Yeah, so Omnia opened in 2015. Marquee opened in 2011.
Marquee. Okay, so all right, so
and I think XS opened in 2009.
Yeah, so let's go back to 09 because 08 was like a little drought kind of out here. So '09. That's when some of the back before then it was like that's the start of like the fucking the super clubs. But I want to say it's heyday because you got your super clubs mixed with your pool parties, right? So every week or every day was a different day. Like for example, like on Fridays, you had ditch Fridays, right?
That's the palms. That's the palms.
Then Saturday was wet.
Saturday,
exactly. Saturday was wet, and then Sundays was rehab, right? So that's how I kind of look at like how you can network or how this podcast space is like, okay, I feel that we're definitely the Fellas Podcast is definitely I want to say ditch. Your rehab and Angela's wet.
Okay, I hope I don't go away after. I hope I don't go after.
No going away though. But rehab was the first one to really like put the pool parties on the map, and I think during rehab's heyday, like they had a show, they and during their heyday, they were like one of the biggest to do it. And then after you leave rehab, you go over to Vanity, or you go to Babies, or you go to or you go to Body English. You know what I'm saying? So I worked in Vanity. I worked at One Oak. So I've seen all the nightlife and shit. Even though I'm more of a bar and lounge type of dude.
Yeah, you grow out of the industry after a while. It's really hard, especially now. It's really hard to hit on chicks or meet people because the volume's so loud, the vibration throughout the building.
A lot of time the girls are working.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. So you got to kind of like separate the working girls. You know what I'm saying? Like you'll know you'll know the working girls. Like
they want to travel.
Inside in a bar setting, it's lower barriers. Yeah. Everyone's more relaxed. You're more open to conversation. You can see what's in front of you. There's not all these crazy lights going on.
Exactly.
And all these other distractions. Money flying.
Because all it takes is one celebrity to fuck up all your game that you had.
I can tell you, being a busser at Omnia, where we get spenders to come in and spend six figures, it literally just attracts the entire attention of the nightclub. You just see all of the chicks just swarm in on this table immediately.
And let's be honest, like that was dude's game was like if I get bottle service,
that was their third shot.
Yeah, because think about it, like in clubs you can't sit down.
You can't.
Like you can't have a little section where you could relax at. Like, and try to like cupcake. You gotta stand up.
If you don't got a section at the club, it's a video. You just say you're just an extra in the video. That's what we say. You just extra in the video. You know what I mean? So.
That's why I wouldn't go to a club now unless it was like table service, like bottle service, just say a party.
Especially living out here, we're spoiled. If there's no comp table, it's like, what's the point of going? I don't want to be with the Gen Pop.
Especially when it's 115 outside.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah, I think that. I'm saying my essence. But I just want to give you your flowers because it's dope what you're doing.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Especially being a native, you don't really meet too many Vegas natives.
The thing is, all the classmates, all of my childhood friends, they all get a job on the Strip, and then they just they pretty much check out. And it's not me just trying to rag on them. It's just like from what I see. So I've constantly outgrown all of my friend circles because I've always wanted to do more. Because you can have such a huge impact on this city, and Vegas is literally a world-class place. You get 44 million people who travel here every year, and many of those people consider Vegas their second home. So if you can be one of those top podcasters or a public figure or somebody who's commonly identified with Las Vegas, then you have a huge audience that just believes in you. And it doesn't even matter with the downloads. That's something that I've learned with podcasting, is that I used to be so focused on the amount of downloads in the beginning. I don't know why, but now there'd be days where my podcast downloads would be down, but my social media followers would be up, engagement would be up. And then I'm like, at the end of the day, what's it matter if they're listening to all of your podcasts or if they're listening to two of them? As long as they support you and they're following you along your journey and that they're pulling some sort of information, because at the end of the day, everyone's busy. Especially if you're recording hour episodes. I have a lot of my audience, they say they just listen to the 1 minute clips that I put up. And then they just say that that's enough content that they get. But then the people who come onto my show is pretty much validated by me because they trust me. So then they look into those people.
And that's why I try to keep it down as far as just a regular podcast, I try to keep it down to like 30 minutes. Because I learned that a lot of people's attention span is like fucking
maybe 10-15
minutes. Like 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, it depends on the platform. Like the younger generation, attention span's definitely lowered because of things like TikTok and the infinite scroll. But those who are entrepreneurial driven, they have actually a pretty long attention span. Like I'm an avid consumer of like 2-3 hour podcasts, like Joe Rogan and Tim Ferriss. I love being able to have it on in the background, and then I can go work on my own thing. And with long form conversations, it's many sub conversations within, right? It's like maybe 5 or 10, 20 minute conversations. So you could tune out of the conversation, then come back in, and you didn't really miss that much. You're just on to the next topic.
What kind of got you in it? Like, what kind of pushed you to make you say this is...
So I started the podcast April 2020. I actually conceived of the idea back in 2018.
Oh, okay.
This was while I was running my first 2 businesses. My first business out of college. I graduated UNLV fall 2015. 2017, I opened up an antique store with my father.
Oh, okay.
Growing up on the east side, we didn't really have that much money. We were lower middle class, especially after the 2008 financial crisis. My father was a painter, lost his job. He got into things like storage wars, like buying old storage units or going to yard sales, liquidations, things like that. And so I opened up an antique store with him. And that same year, my past business partner, Corey, he was working on a project called Chameleon Verified Network, which fought ticket fraud. In short, basically you scan a ticket, it would tell you if the ticket's real, and then we had a secondary marketplace attached to it that was verified sellers that you could sell with a social media component to it. So it was like a social media, and we had a bunch of partners and stuff like that, but it was during that time when I thought about starting a podcast as I was watching Joe Rogan, and I was like, why is there nothing like this in Vegas? Why is there no dominant talk show? Like, to me, it just seemed so asinine that something like that had never happened with the amount of cool people that are out in the city.
Yeah.
And so I sat on the idea for a few years. Both of those businesses closed down. And then once the pandemic happened and I saw the way that society was shifting towards content creation, and I was like, all right, I had this like do or die moment where this is what I was going to do. And so, the first 2 guests that I had on were nurses. And then I had a politician on, and it kind of just like had its own momentum going forward.
Yeah. Well,
that's big. I think, Danny, I want you to pay. We should all pay attention to one of the other things that like Jake really said as far as
that's for you, Jake.
When you think about what really is the attention span,
right.
At the end of the day, when it comes to the attention span, the first thing that he said was a brand name. He said Joe Rogan, and that's where I step in, because at the end of the day, no one cares about nothing until they care about who the fuck you are.
Exactly. That's right.
So that's at the end of the day. So when I see a cohesive unit like Fellas Podcast, like Jake Gallen, like Faded Truth, like everybody, we got to put each other together and make sure that we become successful superstars. So now the attention is on us.
Exactly. And when you have a handful of people who already command attention, it's amplified by magnitude. It's not 1 + 1 = 2. It's like 1 + 1 = 5.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you get their audience, that other audience, and then the algorithm ties into it.
Yes,
so now it just keeps amplifying more and more.
So what would you say is your top 5 podcasts that you listen to every day? Cheers.
Every day?
Yeah.
Joe Rogan is one that I casually tune into. I have a handful of crypto podcasts I tune into. Anthony Pompliano, the Pomp Podcast, really popular. He started out as a crypto podcast. He also pivoted during the pandemic, and now he's become a fintech podcast. And he's had on like Mark Cuban and just different tech entrepreneurs and finance entrepreneurs. That's a really good one. I'm a big fan of Lex Friedman, if you're aware of him. He does also long 2-3 hour podcasts with intellectuals that on like Jack Dorsey, the founder of Twitter, Elon Musk, Joe Rogan, a bunch of people like that. I'm all into those like really long form conversations because I want to.
You know who they are. See, when you have it long, you know who they are.
Yeah.
If it's short, you want to build on it.
Yeah, and if you trust the host, then generally they're asking the questions that you're thinking of, so you feel like you're a part of the conversation, and that's what's most intimate. Because when you're home alone, a lot of us get lonely. We've seen that, especially with quarantine being amplified with the suicide rate on, mental depression, and things like that. But if you have a podcast in the background, I feel like I'm with Joe Rogan, and I've used this phrase a handful of times, but the common the common quote in life is that you become the 5 people that you most actively hang around.
Mm-hmm.
But what if I'm actively listening to 5 podcasters? Do I become those 5 podcasters because I'm engaged in their conversation?
That's a good point. Yeah, because I mean, I would think so a little bit. You know, they'll have a little bit of imprint on you because like that's what you consume.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I believe in you are what you really consume.
Yeah,
so like, if I consume, you know, robbing banks, you know, music talking about that, you know, shows and all that shit, like I'm probably gonna have interest in trying to do something like that. You know what I mean? Same thing with money. Like if I surround myself with people or with, like you said, podcasts and shit that talks about entrepreneurship, money, blah blah blah, 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 then yeah, I'm probably gonna do that. Like, I know like a lot of my circles, like they own houses, they flip houses. Like, you know, for example, like shout out to my mom, she has an investment properties and shit, right? And you know, they're always looking for their come up. So like I learned that pretty much early on. I was always a hustler, you know what I'm saying? So like it didn't matter if it was candy, if you smoke, I could get you that. If I didn't have it, I could get somebody to get it to you. You know what I'm saying? So that's always been my thing. So you know, just growing up, I was like, damn, like I surround myself with hustlers, and like all my friends, like even Danny's like one of the biggest hustlers. Sometimes like Danny might over hustle. Like there's no such thing as over hustle. Like, yes, it is, because like when you overdo it and like you kind of like block yourself from other things, then you kind of fuck yourself up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Same thing with me. Like it was times where I was doing like a million different projects at once. I'm like, dude, I'm killing myself. I'm blocking myself from this because I'm trying to do X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? Like,
it's funny that you say that because I watched the one podcast with Mozzie with how you betting. How you saying that you shouldn't bet on 8 different games, just bet on one.
That's smart.
You know what I'm saying? So I took that into consideration. How you say the same thing. You say, like you said, a lot of projects trying to knock everything at once. I mean, take one at a time. If you try to do all at one time, you're going to take it ill somewhere on one of those projects.
There's a popular quote online. I forget who said this, but it is definitely a billionaire. And they said something along the lines of millionaires diversify and billionaires concentrate.
Yeah,
if you look at all
that's true. Wow. That's fire. Yeah.
If you
said that,
if you look at all the billionaires in the world, they generally have equity in something that they built. It's not there. I mean, there's Warren Buffett who has a diversified portfolio, but he bet his entire net worth on Berkshire Hathaway and made their way there. So the same idea is happening in today's world. Instead of equity, now it's just content creation, where a lot of these billionaires are going to end up being YouTubers and content creators that build their own brand, like Mr. Beast, for example. Yeah. That fool was definitely going to be a billionaire at like 23, 24 years old because he figured out how to brand himself, but also in a philanthropic way.
Yeah. So what do you say to people that want to be an entrepreneur or want to have a business? Like, what are the steps that they should take? Because I had a business in 2014, 2015. It's called Premonition. I went into it with another guy. So I put up the money. He put up his network. Whatever. So he leveraged his network. I leveraged the money, and we had a council. We did uniforms, clothing, all kind of stuff like that. But that goes back to what we were just talking about. He overdid things. Like I had a job, and so like I want to have a business and a job. So like my business will be for like everything, and my job will be for like just the medical shit like that. Bullshit like that, right? And so just like I said, this is around the time I was working with the Hard Rock. And we had clients, but he was doing too much. He was, the women got in the way and life just got in the way. And it was messing up the business, I'll say it like that. It was messing up the business to the point where I was like, you know what, we need to break away from each other because I feel that you're going this way, I'm going this way, I view things this way, I view the customer like this, blah, blah, blah. I feel like we should network, we shouldn't try to overcharge people, we shouldn't rip people off, we shouldn't do this, X, Y, and Z, because like I'd rather have long-term success than like short-term riches.
Exactly. You have to have the long-term mindset. Being short-sighted is just going to lead in disaster. You see that happening with a lot of day traders as well. They are all just riddled with anxiety because they have that short-term time frame. But in terms of like entrepreneurship, there's a few different methods that I take. Kind of along the lines of yours, I've learned that friends then business partners generally doesn't work out, but business partners then friends does.
Yeah.
When Corey was a good friend of mine, and then we started Chameleon, we lived together while we were working on the project, but it seemed like we were having issues moving past things because we were friends beforehand. And then depending on how you evaluate your friendship, sometimes that you're like subconsciously bestowing that friendship before making financial decisions, and it's hard. Now my new partner Chris with Native Research, we were business partners first, then friends, and it seems like much more natural because we gravitate around that. And that's something I've noticed with podcasting and meeting friends online, is that you gravitate towards people who share the same interests as you. Therefore, it seems like a more natural relationship, right?
Yeah, I agree,
they also understand the path that you're going down, so they know how to interact with you.
Yeah, because when you're in high school or even college, it's partly a forced relationship because you're in the same area as somebody, and you're like, I'm not going to go throughout this entire 4-year process alone, so I'm going to have to make friends with somebody. But when it comes to graduating after college or just being in the real world, you have to find people who share the same interests so that you can have a prolonged business relationship or even just friendship. Another quote that I love is the very simple one of Nike: "Just do it, man. Just freaking do it." My first business with Next Gen Pickers, I can't tell you how many times I went to the business office, probably 10 times in a month, because I kept messing up on the paperwork, I was talking to the wrong person, I didn't have enough money or whatever it was, and you just kind of have to just like take a few quick breaths and just be like, this is all going to happen. This is all the experience that I need to go through, and then it makes it easier and applicable over time. And another thing for me is I'm a firm believer in the trial and error mindset. You have to try it and understand the emotions that are tied to that action, whether it's a success or a failure, and then go through with it and build on it, and then make sure that you derive some sort of value from that failure or success so that you can apply it forward. A lot of people like to say that you can learn from other people's successes, and yes, I can observe that, but I don't understand how they were feeling. I don't know the context of the situation, right? Was their girlfriend mad at them? Were they sleeping on the couch when this happened? Was there external forces that made that decision happen? You just don't know. So learning, you can observe other people's successes and failures, but it's hard for me to know until I actually go through that process.
When the mics go off, that's the difference.
A lot of people don't realize too, risk and sacrifice are the two main keys to success. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't realize that because they're scared to take the risk and they don't want to take sacrifice. They're scared of what they're going to lose, not knowing that you losing that is going to make you elevate to the point you want to go to.
Well, that's what I see with a lot of people that I work with, because our job is one of those jobs like a football team. Like at first you might start off okay, and then like you work your way up into a lot of money, right? And there's a lot of variations that go into getting that a lot of money. But I see people that get so comfortable there where they like that's all they have, and then like if something, like I always think like this, if something happens, like what else are you gonna do? Like where else? How else are you gonna move? Which way are you gonna go? Are you gonna let that be your determining factor of life, or are you gonna transcend and do something else because you built this skill or talent or passion, whatever the case may be. But a lot of people, like I said, that I work with, that's just the end all be all, and I don't know, that's not me. Like I'm building a network, so and I'm talented at a lot of other things, so I'm like I don't think I can relate to like people just being lifers at anything. You know what I'm saying? Like even in music, you gotta like, you might start off rapping, but then like it's more than rap. You want to go into fashion or some shit, movies, managing, whatever the case may be. Like you shouldn't be a one-trick pony. So like when a lot of people are a one-trick pony, I look at them like, what the fuck are you doing in life?
There's a lot of things that hold people back, whether it's fear, complacency. They don't like to put their reputation at risk. I've learned that a majority of the population is afraid of going back down the mountain. Right? They're taking this like magnificent hike up to Mount Everest, But then at some point you realize that this is the wrong trail.
Yeah.
But some people are so stubborn that they're just going to continue up this wrong trail until they get to the dead end and they're like, crap, now I just have to go much farther. So you can't be afraid to pivot. All of the entrepreneurs that I've talked with and all the entrepreneurs, especially the billionaires that you hear on all these other podcasts, they all had many pivots along the way, whether it was just something completely different. Look at like somebody like Mark Cuban. He built some sort of software company and then sold everything at the height of the dot-com bubble because he realized that was the end of it. You know, he didn't just like keep beating his head against the wall wishing that it was going to go more. So and look at people like Elon Musk. He's been a part of like many different things. He didn't actually found Tesla, but he wanted to be a part of it. He bought himself into it. Same with SpaceX. Has had so many different pivots on how to make a rocket ship and all of these other externalities to it. So you cannot be afraid to pivot. Those are going to happen. It depends on how you have to be proactive about your reactions and reactive about your proactives.
And on top of that, you gotta have an end game. It's just not doing this video, but have an end game to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because like I said, we all want to sit back and relax and enjoy our time with our funds that we gain. But you can't keep doing it. You never had the time to enjoy it.
That's why I love talking with entrepreneurs, and that's why I focused on talking with entrepreneurs, because most entrepreneurs have the similar end game. We want to either provide value to either a community, society, the world, or we want to solve some sort of problem. But the journey about going about it is so drastically different. We all have hurdles that we have to climb over or under or around.
Yeah.
And it just depends on just having your grit and tenacity to never give up and then stay consistent with your mindset.
Yeah, for sure. And mindset, that's mindset and manifest.
I tell people like this, and we're going to end it here because this is a beautiful podcast. I want to save some more shit for champagne talks because we're going to definitely get you on that. Look, man, if you have a passion, chase that shit, man. Be the person that you want to be. Don't be the person that everybody wants you to be. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're that, then you're lost in life. And do what makes you happy. Do it smart, obviously, but do what makes you happy. And that's all I got. Let me jump to these shout outs real quick. Shout out to the Guestlist Podcast. Shout out to Jake. Hey, we appreciate you for coming.
Appreciate you guys for having us.
Shout out to Fellas Podcast. Shout out to Elevated One That Says Baby. Shout out to Faded Truth. Shout out to P3. Shout out to On the Rocks Bartender. Shout out to Noble Arts. Shout out to Free Thinker. Shout out to Sneak Apparel. Hey, GC's got that sneak on. He got that sneak. He's the unofficial official model for G6 for Sneak Apparel. Shout out to Sneak Apparel.
Shout out to Sneak Apparel, man. You already know what time it is.
Yeah, we already know what time it is. You want to shout out anybody?
Man, I just shout out everyone in Vegas. Shout out to G,
shout out to Vegas,
to Terrence, Danny, to all you guys, man. And we all have to collaborate together. There's no reason to be territorial, especially in this digital world that we're moving.
It's enough for everybody. For everybody that was listening to what they said, man, don't be afraid of the man in the mirror, people, because all of those entrepreneurs, they weren't afraid of the man in the mirror. Don't get over that person. Y'all be good, man. Y'all be smooth out here.
100%. You got anything?
Yeah, man. Like you said, the man in the mirror. That's your only person that can stop you from doing what you want to do.
Right.
Like you said, that person in the mirror. Anybody else, they can't stop you.
Right. You get over that, man. You win it.
Exactly.
Hey, and realize this. Time is the essence. Like, you don't want to waste a lot of time on bullshit when you could spend time on other things. You never get that time back. So just put that in the back of your mind. And we out.
Because of my pockets been hurting. I'm sick of waiting, no labels of waiting these tables. I need it, I deserve it. I need an anthem. I need $1 million, a milli for pounds, a milli for grandson.